felt like I was doing too much for other people, you know, and not doing enough for myself.
Yeah. What's up, guys? My name is Rob, and this is Rob on the Run podcast, a running podcast for all healthy lifestyles. And today, this is episode 9, and we have Steve. Steve, how are you doing today?
Too bad. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, man. And we were talking about this earlier before we started recording. That beard has gone bigger. It's awesome,
Yeah, it
dude.
certainly has. I think it's time for a little trim, at least underneath, but it's starting to separate, but I can braid it a little bit now. So
No,
yeah, it's pretty good.
it's amazing, dude. Every time I get to talk to you or see your posts and you're showing your beard, man, it's amazing. And as we were talking earlier before the recording again, this just does not make it. It looks horrible compared to what you got, man. How long have you been growing it? I know you told me last time, but it's been a while.
Yeah, just like running, it takes a really long time to cultivate. I think I've had it. I started it pre-pandemic. Everybody thought it was like a COVID beard, but I started it like right before there. So it was about 2019, I think.
Oh wow! So it's been a while, but of course you were saying, you trimmed it. You've trimmed it a little bit here and there.
Yeah. There's a couple times where I trimmed it too much, and I was like, "Oh no, it looks like crap." So I just let it go. Now I'm just letting it go.
No, it looks awesome, dude. And like I said, I'm always jealous of your beard, man, because it's. I think at this point, if you ever make like a T-shirt or something like that, dude, it's got to be like showing the beard or something, man, because it's. I think it's a trademark at this point, man.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good idea. I might have to do that. Just the beard on it. That's it.
No, yeah, it's awesome. But Steve, thank you very much for being our guest. Let's start right at the beginning, man. Like, I am so proud of you. I was excited to see that you did Cocoon again. The last time you were at the other podcast that I used to have, you were talking about doing the second one. So now you did the third one.
Yeah.
Compared to the 3 that you've done, like, which one is your favorite? Which one is the one that you really learned a lot about yourself? Man, 3 times.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the first one was definitely the most life-changing one that I had.
Yeah.
Anytime that you're out there doing a 200 plus mile race, even if you're doing a 50K or 100K, it's life changing. But when you're out there for that long, you certainly do learn a lot about yourself. And the first one to me was probably my favorite because it showed me that like I could do anything I wanted to do. If I just put a plan together and just kind of chunked it out bit by bit, anything I wanted to do, I could do.
That's awesome, dude. And talking about plans, like between number 1, number 2, and number 3, did your plan change on this last one, or you stuck to the same plan you've been doing since number 1?
So I like to break it in terms of the race. I think it all stayed pretty much the same in terms of like what I wanted to do with the race. Just work aid station to aid station. But in terms of training, I had a much better training block like this go around than I did the previous 2. So I did much more elevation training. I did a lot of sauna training for heat training and stuff like that. So I was able to. I didn't feel as beat up as I did. It still hurt, but I didn't feel as beat up as I did in the first 2.
Yeah.
And that was a testament to my training. So just put in. A lot of vert. I think I did like 4 or 5 weeks of at least 20,000 or at least 15,000 feet a week.
Yeah.
And then, I did like 1 or 2 runs where I did 10,000 feet a day.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And then And then I did like 2 or 3 weeks of 100-mile weeks back to back just to prep myself.
Wow, that's crazy. When you mention sauna training, what exactly does that mean? You just sit in the sauna for X amount of time, or you're actually doing some like workout or something while you're in the sauna?
Yeah, so I wanted to train my gut as well to like be able to digest in the heat. So I would go for a run, get done my run, and then have a protein shake and a big breakfast, and then jump in the sauna for not like literally jumping up and down in the sauna, but I'd yeah, sit in the sauna for like 30 to 45 minutes right after my run and after I ate breakfast
Oh,
to
wow.
get acclimated to the heat and then train my gut to be able to digest in the heat. And I think that helped out a lot as well.
So that's something that you hadn't done in the past. This is the first time you've done that?
Yeah, this was I heat trained, and I heat trained it by like layering up a lot during my
Yeah.
runs. I'd put on, two shirts and a sweatshirt and tights and pants and run. But that adds more stress on your run while you're
Mm-hmm.
running. So normally you have to run a little bit slower. So I kept my workouts the same, and I just bought like an Amazon zip up sauna that somewhat fits in my living in my not my living in my bedroom. I
Okay.
moved it so you can't see it behind me. It's usually right there. But yeah, it's just enough for one person. And it gets up to like 125, 135. It's like just enough to really start sweating.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just did that. That was, I think, a game changer for this go around, really, because it also improves your cardiovascular fitness just by sitting in there. Um, and just having my gut being ready to digest everything in the heat was a big help.
That's awesome. And speaking about digestion and everything, I've had a couple already ultra runners in the podcast. I'm finding myself more intrigued and interested in that side of running, and I think that's why I've had a little bit of I've had a little bit of both. Don't get me wrong, but it's so interesting because when you're talking about digestion, it's something that Ray, I think you know Ray Berlanga.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
I had him in the podcast, and of course he says nothing but nice things about you while we were recording, by the
Oh,
way.
that's
Okay,
awesome.
while we were recording.
Yeah.
Once it wasn't recorded, no, I'm just kidding. He had a lot of great things to say about you, and he brought up something that I had never heard before in when you're doing ultras, especially in ultras, because he did explain that it's not something that a marathon or a road racer would do, but he was talking about how you know when you're doing these 100 milers, um, he basically eats burritos and all these crazy things that you don't think. Like I would have never thought about that. Like I, as a road racer, that I'm more of a road racer. I've only done one trail race, but not as big as 100 miler. Never thought about like, man, how can you eat a burrito while you're doing this? And that has brought the question to every single ultra runner. What do you eat when you're doing, especially a 250 miler? Like what is it that
Yeah.
you consume in your in what like, I guess in a better way of putting a question, in this last race, what is it that you consume for the whole race?
Yeah. So the first day, because it's really hot and it's
Mm-hmm.
all exposed
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of climbing,
Yeah.
I relied on Spring Energy and Huma gels. And now that Spring Energy's come on a under a lot of fire, I mean, I didn't see any difference in myself, but I kind of mixed up both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had like 12 or 13 gels over the course of the first day
Oh
to get
wow.
to at least for the first 30, yeah, the first 36 miles, because
Mm-hmm.
that's really one of the hardest parts of the course.
Yeah.
And there's really no aid stations and stuff like that. And then the first main aid station is at the top of a huge mountain, and I had like fruit and Coke. And then when I got to my crew at Crown King, that's kind of I had like my wife is a big through packer and a big backpacker and a hiker and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
shoot, we had this dehydrated mushroom risotto that you use for camping.
Okay.
So we had that. She made me that when I got there, and that was packed full of sodium and carbs and everything like that. So I was ready to go. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of real food. Like I mainly just had my at each of the aid stations that my crew was at. I'd have like one or two things of ramen and like instant mashed potatoes. They were like
Wow.
key for me. Yeah, and then in between, I was eating called pocket pretzels. They're just soft pretzels that you stuff in your pocket. And it sounds really gross, but they stay nice and soft, so you can eat them while you're running. So had a lot of soft pretzels and a lot of peanut butter crackers and Tailwind.
Oh,
That kind
wow.
of kept me moving. But yeah, I was the same way because I like transitioned from the road and marathon to
Hmm.
trail running. I was like, there's no way I can eat like a hamburger or eat pasta while I'm running. But then you do it, you train your gut just like you train everything else on how to do it. Just because if you don't, you're not going to get the calories in, so you have to eat it. And after a while, the gels just start tasting like crap. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't take another gel, you
Yeah.
know?
No, no, and like I told Ray, I can understand. Like it's mind-boggling to me because I've never done something that requires like that, but I can totally understand why. It's the calorie deficit starts, being real big.
Yeah.
You're putting so much effort and so much time out there, and you definitely you have to start thinking about, how are you gonna replenish that all those calories you're losing. It's kind of like a car, you can't drive a car on
Yep.
empty, right? So it totally
Yep.
is understandable. It's just, for me being a road racer and thinking like, man, I can go through 26 miles with maybe a waffle, those little honey stinger waffles or something very basic, very small, and just to get you to 26 miles and then you can eat whatever the hell you want, But when
Yeah.
Ray told me, yeah, I eat burritos, I've eaten a full pizza, I'm like, wow, like
Yep.
how can you do that? Like how does your stomach, take that when you're, in the middle of nowhere and whatnot. But it's understandable, definitely understandable. It's just something that ever since he told me, I started asking most of my ultra friends, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you eat? And yeah, you eat the
Yeah.
craziest, you hear the craziest things. Like I have a friend of
Yep.
mine here locally that does ultras as well, and he says that he basically like makes himself like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and just stuffs like two or three while he's running,
Yeah.
and it's crazy and amazing how much food you're intaking, right? And like let's say if I was on a regular day, just like without running, if I were to eat the food that you probably eat as an ultra runner on a race, man, it wouldn't be good. It definitely wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. That's why Uncrustables are a great thing too, because they're frozen. You just put them in your pack and they're ready to
Yeah.
go by the time you want to eat them. So, but yeah, it's just like however you train, you're running and stuff like that. You have to train your gut the same way. And it's just a lot of practice too. So, I'd make sure I do a couple of runs where I'm going to eat what I'm going to eat on the trail and just make sure that it works for me. And the crazy thing about nutrition too is like
Hmm.
it may work it may work for you one day and it just may not work for you the next day. So you got to always have different types of nutrition in your tool bag ready to go. You may be craving sweet. That may not work for you the one day, so you got to go with salty and just have a bunch of different things to choose from and what you're feeling. So, but you definitely have to eat early and you have to eat often. That's what I tell all my clients and all my athletes is, hey, like you don't fuel the miles you just ran. You fuel the miles that are coming up.
Yeah. And it's like, how long did it take you to, because you did mention that you were a road racer and you went from road racing to
Mm-hmm.
ultras, like that transition, how long did it take you to understand that nutrition in a road race is so different than an ultra? And how long did it take you to kind of get used to like being like eating so minimal in a road race to now basically stuffing yourself with food so you can have that
Yeah.
fuel for the future, like you said, the miles that you're going to run later. Like
Yeah.
how was your transition? Because I can't imagine that it went smoothly, that there's bumps
No.
in the roads and stuff like that, but how did you manage to be able to make those changes?
So I mean, I'm still kind of learning with the
Hmm.
nutrition. I'm always learning like what works for me and what doesn't. So I did my last like kind of road. I always like to do road marathons here and there and stuff, but I did my
Hmm.
first road marathon in like 2018,
Okay.
and then my first ultra in 2020. But I don't think I really had like a really good handle on my nutrition until probably about this year. So like 2023, 2024 is like really when I started getting into it and saying like, oh, this is the types of carbs that I need to eat, and this is what I need to do before a race. And even like after your training, this is how I have to replace all the carbs and protein that I lost. So um, it's like ever changing. You just always
Yeah.
got to learn. So yeah, I don't feel like I perfected it yet, but I'm feeling more confident when I go out there of like, this is the types of food that I can eat, and this is what I can kind of get away with. And
Yeah.
then there's always those ones where you just bonk and you just don't feel like eating anything.
And I'm guessing also like as you start aging as well, your body changes, even your stomach changes, and that also is part of the evolving part of having options, like you said, of how you can go and tackle the nutrition, So I know for myself, I used to be big on gels, to be able to feel when I'm in my training runs and stuff like that. And like in this training block that I'm doing right now, I noticed that now some of the gels like really irritate my stomach, so it's
Yeah,
it's it's definitely, I think also it in my case, at least that's how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong, but as I'm aging also things are changing within me, so you're totally right. You do have to have different types of you know options, I guess, and that's cool that you say that, because it makes total sense, man. But I noticed you said clients, and the last time we spoke, you were starting kind of like your coaching thing. How is it's all in full throttle? I'm guessing at this point.
yeah. SoCal Runner Coaching LLC is my coaching business. I decided to make the leap December of last year, 2023. So it's been I don't even know how many months that is, but it's been a really good learning experience for me because in the beginning, I got my certifications through USCA,
Hmm.
just for me and just have some better understanding of how to do ultra running and running and everything like that. And so I have an ultra running coaching certificate, running certificate, and then endurance sports nutrition coaching certificate too. So like that was all for me so I could kind of do better just for myself. And then I was helping out some family and friends. Um, and then kind of as I progressed in my career in the corporate world, I was, I would talk to my wife and I would just be really stressed out about stuff a lot, especially over the last year in 2023.
Hmm.
So then eventually I was just like, and it's to me, and I feel like I gloss over it, but to me, it was the most California answer. I was like, it's just the corporate world was just not vibing with me anymore. I felt like I was doing too much for other people,
Hmm.
and not doing enough for myself.
Yeah.
Um, which is weird because I'm doing a lot for other people now, but I'm doing it in a way where like I want to, right? And I want to like my clients when they hit their PRs and they hit their goals, I feel better than when I do it myself.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I started full-time coaching business in 2023 and just been kind of growing my clients, every month. So yeah, I like to do a customized training plan for all my clients and provide them with like nutrition and racing strategies, anywhere from 5K to 200 plus miles. Um, yeah, it's been really rewarding. It's been stressful in a different way, but really rewarding. You're like, hey, do I have enough clients to pay my bills this week or this month? Like that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
at least it's for me right now, and now it's all on me, and
Yeah.
I'm okay. It's not for anybody else, so I'm okay with that.
No, and it's cool that you said about the California thing, but it's true, man. You work
Yeah,
X amount of years, and it's always for somebody that you probably will never meet, you never know, and it doesn't completely. I mean, it does benefit you because you get a paycheck, obviously, but I
yeah,
guess in the
yeah.
long run, is there anything that really you're making a mark? I guess you know what I mean, like if
Yeah.
you were to get fired today or something, they got someone doing the same thing the next day for, and I can
Yeah.
see that as a coach, you are leaving a mark. You're leaving a big mark on your clients. Like, if you get a client that, wants to run a 5K and wants to do it in 20 minutes, but they can't break that 22-minute mark or whatever, and you help them, give them the tools, give them everything that they needed to surpass that, and they make it. That's leaving a big mark in their personal, growth as runners, so yeah, I get it. I get it 100%. It's a different type of helping someone else, but I think it's
Yeah.
it's it's a more human to human thing, like, again, when you're working for corporate America, which I do myself, um, there's no personal growth. I feel,
Yeah.
and like you being a coach, there is a personal growth, because if they grow, you grow too. So
Yeah.
that makes completely sense. And if they grow and you grow, then more people come, and then you can pay your house bill. So that it all works
Yeah.
at the same day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's the ultimate goal.
yeah, yeah, and it's awesome. I really enjoy looking at your feed, and when you put you're the spotlight for your runners. And um, one thing I wanted to ask, like, what is the ratio more or less of your runners? Are they more road racers, or more or half and half, trail racers and road racers?
Yeah, right now I think I have a pretty good mix. I think it's probably like 50-50 of people who are going for marathons or road races versus trails and ultras. Um, I think I have like 5 or 6 clients that are going to the
Oh,
Chicago
nice,
Marathon coming
nice.
up. Yeah, and I'm coaching a group through Wahoo Coaching. That's like
Okay.
they're based out of Oklahoma, but we
Hmm.
do it's all virtual coaching. So I'm a
Hmm.
coach for them as well. So I'm doing a group that's going to the Jack and Jill Marathon in Seattle at the end of July.
Nice.
And then I have a lot of clients that are doing anywhere like I said from 50K to 100 miles and stuff like that too. So um, it's a good mix for me too because it challenges me to say, oh, I got to flip over to marathon mode now, or I got to flip over to road race mode, or okay, this person needs to go get 10,000 feet of elevation next week so they can be prepared for their trail race. That's kind of the challenge that I like now.
Yeah.
And I stepped away from. I think I found myself, and I kind of forgave myself, and it took me a while to like realize this, but my self worth and was tied to like how hard I worked and how stressed I was. And I feel like I was like really addicted to stress. Like if I'm really stressed out, then I got to be
Hmm.
working hard and I feel really good about myself. And it took me like during this transition, probably like 3 or 4 months. And some days I still kind of deal with it that like, oh, man, you're not stressed out. So you can't be working. Like you're not working. Like what's the deal? Like you're being lazy. You're kind of loafing around, but you know, I'm doing what I want to do. So it doesn't feel like it's like I said, it's a different type of stress, but
Yeah.
like my self worth isn't tied to my performance and how well I'm doing at work anymore. And that took me a while to kind of break.
Well, yeah, it's when you do it for so long. I don't know how long you were doing it before you took the plunge and decided, to let go of that and become a coach. But when you're doing it for so long, it's just ingrained in you. Like you're
Yeah.
already so used to it. So when you don't have it, like you said, like, I'm not stressed. I might not. Obviously, I'm not working. So it takes a while. It takes
Yeah.
a while to kind of like readjust that your brain to say, I don't have that stress. I don't need that stress. I
Yeah.
got a different type of stress, but this stress I actually like, so it
Yeah.
makes total sense. It makes total sense. And it brings back to my memories when I was working for a cell phone company and I worked for sales, and it's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's such a hard stress, dude. Like, I would get home and I would still be thinking about work, like, oh my God, I got to do this. I didn't do
Yeah.
that. I didn't hit these numbers. Oh crap, it's almost the end of the month, and I need to hit this. I need to hit that so I can get my bonus and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then when I went from that to a
Yep.
more laid back style of company that I work in, which I don't have to deal with that. And same thing like you said, like, oh my God, like I don't have this stress. Something is wrong. Like I must be not be doing my
Yeah.
job right. You know what I mean? But kudos
Yeah.
to you, man. That's I think that's what everybody wants. Like if you think about it, corporate America is great. It pays your bills. It gives you a stable life. But I think most people want to be their own boss. You know, they want to have,
Yeah.
you know, they want something that is more meaningful, that will be more meaningful for them. So I'm glad you have a different type of stress, and it's the good type of stress, man. But
Yeah.
it's kind of cool to see you grow as a coach, man. Because when I first met you, I know you already had to coach some of the coaching
Hmm.
titles, but you know you were still kind of just doing it for yourself more than
Yeah.
anything. You know, so to see you now having your you know growing your brand and being so successful, for what I can tell, it's awesome, dude. It makes me very happy for you. It makes me you know want to learn more about coaching myself, you know, and that's definitely in
Yeah.
something that I'm thinking about. But you know, bringing back the training and stuff like that, basically your training philosophy. What is your overall training philosophy for runners of different levels?
So I used to train a lot by heart rate
Mm-hmm.
and heart rate alone.
Mm-hmm.
But now I start incorporating a lot more a rate of perceived exertion,
Okay.
RPE. Um, I think that's a really good, while it's a subjective way, it's a
Mm-hmm.
really good way to get like beginner runners like understanding how to run slower. Because for the most part, people, if I talk to somebody and they know I'm a runner, I
Mm-hmm.
usually don't tell them like what I do, like the types of races that I do, and they're like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I hate running. I can never run." But I usually tell them, "Well, if you hate running, you're probably running too fast, like too often."
Mm-hmm.
That's what a lot of people do. There's a lot of people who run too fast, too hard, and they just hate running or they plateau. And so my philosophy is not necessarily like the 80-20 rule, but it is a strong aerobic foundational base and then adding in like threshold and VO2. And
Mm-hmm.
then depending on the race, you do race specific training. That's kind of my overall overarching philosophy, um, structured around rated perceived exertion. So, like, how hard does it feel like you're running, kind of on a scale of 1 to 10,
Mm-hmm.
with 10 being the hardest and 1 being obviously the easiest, with tied to like how easily you can speak in full sentences. So, like an RPE of a 4 or 5, you'd be able to hold a conversation, um, and be able to talk to whoever it is you're running with. And that way it gives runners a cue that say, if they're out of breath, they're running too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because there's a good correlation between like your aerobic threshold and your ventriculatory threshold, how quickly
Mm-hmm.
you can speak or how quickly you have to breathe.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a good correlation to that. So if you're running below that, where you're able to talk, that's your aerobic base, and you're doing all kinds of great aerobic work. So for the most part, I tell all my runners when we start, we're gonna, depending on how far away your race is, we're gonna start on a really good aerobic foundational base. And if you already have that because you've been running for a while,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of when we'll jump into the other ones, because there's no point in putting sprints on somebody's workouts or putting threshold on somebody's workouts if they have no aerobic base yet. That's going to do them no physiological good or changes, and it's just going to frustrate them. So we work slowly, we build up, we build a huge aerobic base, and then we add in the other stuff as we go. Um, and that's my big thing is like if all else fails, we don't have any time for anything else. We're just going to do an aerobic base and have a really good aerobic condition, just because that's where all the magic happens.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's I, I was a type of runner that thought I had to run fast all the time, you know, and I think you are right on when you say that. Uh, I kind of started hating running after a while because I said, well, I'm not getting any faster. I'm getting injured more, you know.
Yeah,
Um, I'm 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 not liking this running business because I just don't feel good. Like I don't feel good about it, you know. I don't
yeah,
I'm not just it's just not it's not doing it, you know. And um so then after a while, I started going to more running clubs, and you always find an experienced runner somewhere in there that's been, running races and being more, you know, uh, I wouldn't say as an elite runner, but you always have that one experienced runner, I guess I should say. And when I
Experience,
would
yeah.
talk to them, they would tell me, "Well, what are you doing? What are you doing that you feel that? Why is it that you're not liking it?" And then I would tell them, "Well, no, I go out and I run. I try to hit this pace, and I never can reach the pace. And then the next morning, I feel like crap because my legs are all sore and stuff like that." And they
Yeah,
say, you're probably not recovering right, number one. Two, you're running way too fast. They even, one a good friend of mine that is still a good friend of mine, he told me, "Let me see your Strava." I was like, "All right, here you are." And he saw, like, "Dude, you're trying to run every day at the same pace, and it's pretty fast, like pretty decent, like it's pretty
correct.
fast." And he's like, "What do you do on your recovery runs or your easy days?" I'm like, "This is my easy
What's an
day."
easy day?
What's an easy day,
Yeah,
And then he,
yeah,
he he told me, "Well, that's your problem, dude." He's like, "You're running every day like you're running a damn race, and not every day
yeah,
is a race day." It's and then he started explaining me, Mondays I take it slow. Tuesdays is usually my track workout. Wednesdays again a little slow, and then Thursday or Friday I'll take a day off depending on how I feel, and then Saturday is my long run day. But even he's like, even at that, I run slow. He's like, and then it started kind of like clicking, it started clicking, and it started making more sense. And I think that's what a lot of new runners and even inexperienced runners don't get. Like, you don't have to run fast all the time, and I think that's why a lot of people get discouraged. But it's very interesting, everything that you said, because it reminded me of me. It reminded me of me and not understanding a lot of things, the technical aspects, until again you definitely get a running coach, or you get somebody that can break it down to you, and now, like, I probably would say about 60% of the time, 70% of my runs are very slow, chill, and
yeah,
then of course I have my hard days that are very hard, but because of the balance, you get to recover better, and
yeah.
bringing up the recovery, like, what are your recovery techniques that you suggest to ensure, like, the runner is ready for their next workout? Like, what with your clients, what would be, your what you require for them to do, or what would you suggest, basically?
And like you said too, it's not running as hard as you can every day. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
big part of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's taking your easy days easy,
Mm-hmm.
and then your hard days hard. But on those hard days, it's replenishing your body with all of the glycogen stores that just went out. So it's making sure that you have a healthy breakfast, or, like, a healthy recovery meal after you're done. With So I'm not a dietitian, so I can't say,
Yeah.
eat this many grams of carbs or fat or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but just a healthy amount and a good mix of, excuse me, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Regain all those glycogen stores, and then just active recovery. If you go out for a really hard workout and then you just go sit down, your
Mm-hmm.
muscles are going to tense up. You're going to be, um, you know, all the lactate is going to be built up in your system. You're not going to be able to get that out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really big on walking. I'm really big on, cross training. If you want to hop on the bike, those kinds of things. Strength workout is really good too. Um, but in terms of recovery, it's just that active recovery, walking, or just taking your easy days. And then for me too, I know not everybody has access to it, but the sauna also helps out with recovery because it
Yeah.
promotes blood flow,
Mm-hmm.
and anything that promotes blood flow is going to help out your recovery.
Yeah.
Um, I know a lot of people like to jump in ice baths and stuff like that, but there are some studies that come out, and I'm not saying don't do it, but
Yeah.
there are some studies that say, like, it kind of negates any endurance gains that you have if you jump in an ice bath right after you go run or strength train or anything like that.
Okay.
Just because it restricts blood flow. But again, you can find studies out. you can find studies on the internet that support anything that you want it to. So that was
Yeah.
just one or two that I saw. Um, but yeah, just eating right is really big. Making sure that you're really fueled
Hmm.
before and after your race is really huge to recovery.
Yeah.
And then just taking that active recovery, making sure you're stretched in. I don't really promote like foam rolling or anything because there's a lot of dangers with that if you're not doing it the correct
Yeah.
way.
Hmm.
But stretching and walking and doing all and not being sedentary, not sitting around all day after a workout as hard as that is.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
anything
No.
to promote blood flow to keep your blood pumping is a really good way to have recovery.
No, you are 1,000% right. I know with in my experience when I ran the Chicago Marathon, my first marathon, I felt like a car hit me first of all, and I remember being at the park there right after running. I lay down, I lay down in the floor, and then I couldn't get up, dude. I could not get up
Yeah.
because my legs were cramping, my knees were locking, and then after that, I went back to my running coach and I told him like, why do I feel so bad? Like I couldn't move. And he said, well, what did you do after the race? And he said, well, dude, all I wanted to do is just, you know, pretend like a possum and die, or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he said, did you walk a little bit afterwards? I was like, no, that's the last thing in my head that I wanted to do, I just ran 26 miles and you want me to walk more? Come on, man. And
Yeah.
he said, as ironic as it sounds, that's the best thing you can do after you run the marathon. Like, I'm not saying for you to walk like 10 miles afterwards, but walk, like stay active for maybe about an hour, like keep your legs
Mhm.
moving. And then if you want to sit down, at least you get the blood flowing still, like it just doesn't stop all of a sudden, and that's going to help you
Yeah.
out. So ever since I got that, that's all I do. Like even on my long runs, when they get to the point where they're 20 miles or whatever, my training runs, I will, before I even get to my car, when I'm done, I'm hydrating. I'll bring my water, my Gator, whatever I'm using for electrolytes, and I'll still walk around the park for maybe like 30, 45 minutes, just so I can,
Yeah.
let my legs still, move around, And the sauna, dude, for me, has been a game changer this time. I got hooked on this thing called Hot Works. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a sauna, and you
Yeah.
do yoga and you do all these other things. A stretch. They have a stretch class, a yoga class, Pilates class, and basically what you're doing is that you're doing it inside a sauna and like infrared and all these technical things that I don't know really what they do. But to me, the most important part is the sauna part. You know. And I like now what I'm doing is that on my long runs, when I finish, I go straight over there. I book a session and I'll do like a stretch class. It's a 45-minute class and it's 125 degrees in there. And it's stretching every single part of my body, my legs especially.
It's awesome.
And man, when I get out of there, of course I'm still sore because it's not gonna take all the
Yeah.
soreness away. But the next day, to me, the next day is the most incredible thing. Like the next day, which is usually Sundays, I don't feel as bad. I don't feel like, oh my God, like my legs are sore, uh like
Yeah.
I can't walk at all, No, it I feel pretty fresh. It feels great. So yeah, sauna for me has been a real big time game changer. And to be able to do even yoga, like I had never done yoga, to be honest. And now those I have access to yoga and those classes, man, it's amazing because I not only do that class for recovery, like on my Wednesdays that I don't run, it's my strength training. I'll go over there and do
Yeah.
yoga or something like that. So yeah, when you say it's such a great thing, I can attest to that. It's amazing, man. It I don't know what it does, and maybe I'm not that technical, but that sauna it feels great, dude. It really does feel great when you
Yeah.
go in there, man.
It's just promoting more blood flow and like it's just pumping like you would be while you're running. So
Hmm.
it's just even if you're just sitting there, your blood's flowing and because your body's trying to cool itself. So it's just
Yeah.
promoting really good cardiovascular health. And it's not, and even while you're working out in there, and you're looser because it's hot, so you're able to get like a really good stretch, and the blood
Hmm.
flow is going right to your muscles, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And ever since I started going, dude, I will tell everybody, like, if you are any type of distance runner, it doesn't matter, you're 5K, 10K, whatever. It's the best thing. Like, it's definitely changed my perspective on recovery, man. It's awesome. It's really good. But going back to your coaching, Steve, what's the common mistakes you find with your, um, even with your experienced runner, like the newer runners that you get, maybe some runners, if you have any runners that are, more on the newer side, but at the same time, obviously, even your experienced runners, what are the common mistakes that you see on a runner that you coach? Without giving names, without
Yeah,
giving
so
names.
yeah, I think the one of the biggest thing that the runner, and I did it myself too when I was starting out. Like you said, I was running really fast. I was like racing all of my workouts, and I didn't know the difference between an aerobic run and a speed workout and stuff like that. So, and
Hmm.
then I started plateauing, and then it wasn't until I realized that now I do my easy runs, and they're like 2 minutes below where I want my marathon pace to be. And for me, like I was always comparing, like, oh, this guy's going so much faster, or that person's going this much faster. Like, to see those numbers when you're done doing your run, and then you're like, man, that's really slow. But it's only slow because you're looking at somebody else. It's not
Yeah.
slow. It shouldn't be slow for me.
Hmm.
Um, but in saying that, it was a lot of people run in what's called the gray zone. It's too fast for aerobic improvement, and it's too slow for anaerobic improvement. So it's really doing nothing. You're pumping your blood, you're getting some cardiovascular work and everything, but it's not improving your running efficiency either way. So if if you're just running in that gray zone, and it's usually because you're running too fast, that's where you start seeing all your plateaus, and that's usually where I see a lot of the mistakes happen. And it's just because a lot of runners, especially if you're new to it, um, if you're running slow or you're running slower, or like let's say at an easier rate of perceived exertion, they think they're not doing work. Like, that's a lot of the mistake. Like, you're like, I feel great after this 8 to 10 mile run. Like, I must not have done anything, but you've done so much to help your aerobic fitness. Like, that's one of the biggest things that I see. Um, and then when you're running that, you're not able to push hard enough. If you're in that gray zone, you're not able to push hard enough on those workouts where you need to improve your anaerobic ability, like your VO2 max workouts or your threshold workouts, because you don't have anything in the tank.
Yeah.
Um, so if you do slow down, and I even hate the word like fast and slow, if you go at an easier rate of perceived exertion, um, like a 4 to a 5 out of a 10,
Hmm.
that's like right where you want to be for all your aerobic base fitness. And then that will allow you on like your fast days to run at an 8, 9, or a 10 if you want to, for whatever workouts that are prescribed for you. And that's where you're going to see your increase. I mean, I don't think I haven't done speed work myself over the past, just because Cocodona, I'm not going to be doing anything fast. So I do my least specific training further away from my race, and I do my most specific training like closer to my race.
Hmm.
So I did all my speed work like months out.
Okay.
And I hadn't done it. I hadn't done it for like 2, 3 months,
Yeah.
but I just built up a huge aerobic base. And then when I got back to it, now I'm starting my speed work again. I feel like I improved over where I even left off 3 months ago before I started really training for Cocodona. So that's really it, is that gray zone. You don't want to be there. And you don't want to be too much in your anaerobic zone either. You just want to build that huge aerobic base so that you can push outside that gray zone on your threshold and your VO2 max workouts and stuff like that. That's probably the biggest mistake that I see. And really just saying, like, the comparison is the thief of all joy, right?
Yeah.
So it's when you're looking and I'm like, oh man, my 10-minute pace is it's that's my fast pace, but somebody's out there doing a 7:30. But like, so what?
Yeah.
Like, who cares? They're just numbers on Instagram. They're just numbers on Strava. Your
Yeah.
10:30 is the fastest you can run, right?
Yeah.
You're planning on improving that. And if you don't, so what? Who cares? Like you're doing something that most of the population doesn't do anyway. And
And
that's a huge thing.
yeah. And do you mentioned something very, very key. Like, do you think I guess Strava is social media, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
I
it's
think so.
basically it's basically the runners or athletes, I guess. I call it the runners Facebook, but I feel like it
Hmm.
is because do you feel that the like Strava um really messes with someone like people that like it how can I put it? Like I'm trying to figure like you mentioned, like you look at someone like I have a 10-minute pace. Let's just say I have a 10-minute pace,
Yeah.
and you look at, Steve over here has a 7-minute pace, and we're both the same age. We're both kind of built the same, and you start comparing and comparing and comparing. Do you think that is so that's one of the key factors that really messes someone up? Like just trying to be so much like Steve over here when you are yourself. And if
Yeah.
10, like you said, 10 is the best, then 10 is the best, but you can get faster at your own rate. Like stop comparing to
Yeah.
Steve again. Sorry, Steve, I'm using you, but
That's all right.
I see it a lot, and I see that in me. I saw that in me with Strava. As much as I love Strava, but I also when now that I see it, now that I have a couple years in me that I've been running, um, I was that one person. I would have friends of mine, and I would see them like, oh my God, this dude just ran X marathon at 3 hours and 50 minutes, and we're basically kind of the same body structure. We
Yeah.
I ran with the dude, and I'm like, why am I not getting faster? And
Yeah.
that really gets to you. And I think that's why you're talking about being in that gray area, because with me, it really got to me. It really got to me, and I would look at people and like friends, and I'm like, damn, like I why am I not there? Like maybe I should just start running faster. And that's exactly how it all started. And I think sometimes we put
Yeah.
too much emphasis on that. Like now I see Strava as a motivator. I see people's runs, and I'm like, oh my God, my best friend over here just ran Cocodona, and I wanna go run it. I wanna do this. I want to do that. I now see it as a tool to help me motivate myself. But I think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think most people, most runners, especially that are they're starting, when they have all these social medias, um, they see it, and I think it really discourages them. You know what I mean? It discourages them to do something, like just go out there and do what's best for you, not because of that person
Yeah.
try to do better. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, it does. Yeah, and I think that really is an issue. I mean, it was an issue with me when I first got on Instagram and Strava too. I'd be the same way. I was like, man, like, why can't I do this 50K at that pace and stuff like that? So it took me a while too to be able to be like, hey, like it's okay to post whatever your pace is. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it really is just like you want to do what's best for you, and as long as you're improving like that
Hmm.
1 to 2% every day, that's what it's all about. It's not trying to be, because you also don't see anything that they put out there is like the good stuff usually, right,
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
Instagram or even Strava, right? So
Yeah.
it's all like the good stuff, right? You don't see all the other work that went into it. Like you don't know how long that they've been running, and you don't know what type of base they have, all that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
that's really, you just see that one snapshot in the day, and you're like, man, I wish I could be running that fast.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work and it
Yeah.
takes a lot to get you there. But if you keep looking at somebody else and saying, like, instead of trying to improve that one bit, like that's where it gets frustrating.
Yeah.
So, and progress is not linear, right? Even
No, no.
for anything, there's
Yeah.
going to be ups and downs the whole way.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about too, is being able to enjoy the increases in your fit, and then the dip, You just kind of, that's where, like, if you have a dip in motivation, that's where discipline takes over, and you just do it because that's what needs to get done, right?
Hmm.
That's really kind of the key aspects. Really is try not to compare yourself to anybody else. And it's look, it's hard with all that's out there. It really is hard. Like I I forget where I placed in Cocodona. Like my, I think I was like an hour difference between my first Cocodona and my third Cocodona. Like I had really zero improvement in my time, but
Yeah.
I improved how I felt. Like I didn't feel beat up.
Yeah.
So to the outsider, it's like, well, you didn't get any better, right? But to me,
Yeah.
I did get better, and I felt a lot better while I was doing it, and I didn't feel like I survived Cocodona. I felt I like by the third one, I really knew what I was doing, and I kind of, but it didn't look like that from the numbers, right? Because they're all the
Yeah.
same,
Yeah.
which
No,
is
and I
which
get
is
it.
really weird. Yeah.
I get it, man. I get it, and thank you for bringing that up. And I didn't even know that that it was that bad. Like not that bad. I'm sorry, but like that long
No,
time.
okay.
Like there was an hour difference,
Yeah.
from the one to the other. But to me, when I saw after Cocodona, I was so curious to see how you were gonna do, and based on what you were putting on Instagram, you could tell like things were. You did so good when it came to that, and I think a lot of people, like you said, don't see that. They just see, the time. But when you are
Yeah.
able to finish such a big event like Cocodona and feel great, man, that's a win itself, man. That's a
Yeah.
1,000% win, and I could tell, man, because I think after Cocodona, I saw you're already active again. Maybe not running, maybe not doing a lot of things like that, but you could tell that, I've never done it, but I can only imagine if I had done 250 miles like that, I would probably be in a wheelchair, dude. I'll probably be in a wheelchair for a couple of days, But you're up and running basically, and that's a like again, that's a 100% win, and congratulations again, dude. But one thing, talking about social
Thank
media and
you.
whatnot, I gotta ask, you were being filmed, weren't you?
Yeah. So we did a documentary this year on Cocodona.
Nice.
Um, so we're using Cocodona as the backdrop for like changing careers and overcoming my heart condition and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So it should be we're still editing. So it should be like hopefully out in the next couple months and on like Amazon Prime hopefully. So
So
that'd
this
be
is
really
more of
cool.
a this is more of not so much on a Cocodona side. This is something you're doing on the side.
Yeah, this was for me. Like I paid out of pocket for this documentary just because I
Okay.
wanted to. And like I always feel like pompous, right? And saying like, why did I have paid? Why do I think anybody's gonna watch a movie about me that I put together about me?
Yeah.
But I really want it to be like somebody overcoming something. Like I want somebody to look at, and if I could inspire one or two people, like that's it. Then
Yeah.
whatever I paid for it is worth it. Um, just to like get up and do and try something that's hard for you. It doesn't have to be 250 miles. It doesn't have to be a 50 mile. It could be whatever, like getting off the couch is hard for some people, but if they like whatever they think is hard for them to just do that and do that on a consistent basis, like that's what I
Yeah.
want to show people is that's where growth happens, right? When you go do these hard things, that's kind of,
Yeah.
and that you are capable of doing that. Whatever is hard to you, you can do it. Um,
No, that
and bet on yourself. Like that's the biggest thing.
yeah. No, I'm definitely gonna watch it. You already know I am. I know your
Thank you.
story, and when we had you last time, I did not know that about your heart condition, and the fact that you're doing Cocodona for the third time is speaks volumes, after your scares that you've had. So I'm your biggest fan, dude, because it to me, when someone can overcome something life threatening and life changing as what you've gone through, with your heart condition, it's it's amazing, dude. So I love that you did this movie. I don't find anything wrong with that because you want your story to be out, man. That's a
Yeah,
good story. I'm gonna hopefully I hope to get a text from you when it comes out, because I definitely will watch
absolutely.
it, man, and I'll share it to as many people as I can, because like you said, if you can change someone's perspective of changing their lifestyle, their what they're doing, to live a healthier way, why not, dude? Why not? There's no money,
Yeah,
bad money being thrown if something good comes out of it. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'm very
100%.
excited, man. I'm very excited for you to show this movie or this documentary, and definitely you got my support if you need any help and anything. I'll promote it, dude. We'll get you to to
Yeah.
Hollywood or something like that.
Thanks. I don't know if they'll have me, but I'll sign autographs. I don't
Hey, man,
care.
I'll make sure we charge $50 per autograph, man. Get you
Perfect. That
there.
works.
No, man. Again, I told you at the beginning it was gonna take 45 minutes. We're way past that, man. Let's. One thing I
Yeah.
wanted to do is the traditional question. We do have episode 8. Our guest from episode 8 had a question for you. So at this point, we'll let him answer this question. And by the way, he was an ultra runner. He is an ultra runner. He's from where I come from the valley and here in Texas. He
Awesome.
just ran a 100 miler and won first place. So I'm also ecstatic for him, bringing our small little town, a flat town,
That's
because we're
great.
super flat. I don't know how the hell this guy got up like 20,000 in elevation when there's no damn there's if you find a little bump, we call it a hill where I come from, dude.
Yeah.
So that's how bad it is. But he's got a question for you, so we'll give him a little bit of time here so he can ask the question, and then of course you'll be able to answer it. All right. All right.
What is it going to take you to get to your next goal?
Yeah. So I mean, I have a lot of goals. One is around coaching, and then personal goals myself. Um, what's going to take me to get to the next thing on like coaching wise is just being the best coach I can be, is making sure that I'm staying up on all the relevant topics,
Mm-hmm.
revamping all my courses and stuff like that, and being in touch. I always want to make sure that I'm engaged with my clients. I don't want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that they don't feel like a number.
Yeah.
I don't have in like you get 3 emails and a text and like one video call a month and stuff like that. So like I always want to be that approachable and be able to have that interaction with my clients.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be again just being able to improve myself 1 to 2% every day for my clients. And it's just going to take dedication. And I think that's the next thing. So I have the Mogollon Monster in September, and that's a 100-mile race in Arizona. I must like the heat or something. I don't know why I keep going back to Arizona. But
It's
yeah, me and a
beautiful. I
buddy are
heard
going
it's
to go run it.
beautiful, man. I heard
Yeah,
it's a beautiful
it
place
is
over there.
gorgeous, man. But it's so hot. But yeah, me and a buddy are going to go run it. So, and it's just going to take a lot of the same. That dedication that I'm going to give to my clients is just the same dedication that I'm going to give to myself, and
Mm-hmm.
just just show up day in and day out, even those days that I don't want to.
Yeah.
Even for my clients, just those are the days that showing up means the most.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's just going to be is show up and put in the work, which is it's a lot less stressful these days, but it's good. So that's what it's going to take.
It's definitely stress, but like I said, the good type of stress.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
it's a healthy stress. That's better
Yeah,
than trying to figure out, man, what am I gonna do to hit these numbers? So yeah,
yeah,
I envy you, man, because again, you don't have to be a running coach, but a lot of people want to do that. You in your
yeah,
case, you wanted to be a running coach, but how many people out there right now work for the man and want to be the man, but they don't take the plunge, because they're too scared,
yeah,
or they just don't think it's gonna work out. But you're a primary example. If you really want to it will work itself out, and if it doesn't,
Yeah.
hey, no harm lost. Go back
I'll
to the
just
man.
jump in somewhere else. Yeah, I'll just go work for the man again. No big deal.
No, man, but it's awesome, dude. I really enjoy talking to you. I really enjoy hearing your stories and um Cocodona, man. It's to me, looking outside, it's three times, man. Three times is, I think one time for most people is like I'm one and done, and for you to do it three
Yeah.
times is it's just amazing, dude. So I love hearing that, and love hearing that you're thriving as a coach. And we might have to bring one of your students in here and really see
Yeah.
what they say about you,
Yeah, for sure.
No, but
Yeah, I'll give you the good ones.
oh, no,
Yeah.
no, give me the bad ones, dude. Give me the nah, just kidding.
Yeah. They're
I'm
all
gonna
good.
I'm gonna have to find out and ask him, really, how bad is he? Don't lie to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
No, man. We're basically at the end of here of the podcast. The last couple of things we got to do, of course, is just how you answer the question. Do you have a question for our what would be our episode 10 guest? And remember, this is episode 10, so make sure you big episode for me, big episode for the podcast. Give them a good one, man, a tough one, so they can kind of
Oh
think
man.
about it, man.
Now the pressure's really on. Yeah, I think one question that's always good too is what would you go back and tell yourself 10 years ago? Like what are like one or two pieces of advice that you would give yourself, maybe even like in high school, like
Yeah.
between now and then, what would you tell yourself back then to get you through kind of what you went through and where you are today?
That's awesome. That's awesome. And a part of the tradition is you got to answer your own question. So what were
Oh
the 10 what the 10-year-old, or not 10-year-old, but 10 years ago, when you had no beard probably, and look,
yeah, I just had a goatee.
what would you tell that 10 years ago, the Steve 10 years ago?
I think it would just be your future is dictated by you and nobody else. And um, just to keep taking steps forward. That's all that matters, really. And you don't need to see the finish line. You just need to see the next step. That's the biggest thing, is your future is not dictated by anybody else but you.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. I wish
Thank you,
my
buddy.
10 I
Thanks.
wish my 10-year-old but self would have heard that, but
Yeah.
it's crazy how, like you said right now, 10 years ago, like you look at yourself 10 years and you look at yourself now, how much things have changed. For
Oh,
me
yeah.
personally, man, 10 years ago, I was not running. I'm gonna be one of those that you hear. I hated running. I couldn't run more than like one block to the other. And I wouldn't say, for me personally, I felt severely overweight. Maybe I wasn't,
Mhm.
but I did not feel good, and I did not feel good about myself. I did not feel physically good about myself. And I would even say, like, I remember telling and it's funny that you say that because it's so true for me. Like, I would even say, like, if I don't feel good about myself, how someone else is gonna feel good or see me if I can't even feel good about myself. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy how now, I mean, I'm not at the place I want to be yet, but I am from 10 years ago. I'm definitely in a better place, physically,
Yeah.
mentally, health wise. So yeah, that's actually a really good question, man. A good thing I put you on the spot for sure, man.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem, man. And basically, we're here at the end of this podcast. The only thing that you have to say, you already said your next race, unless you have any other one other than the one in September.
I have the Black Mountain
Mhm.
50K at the end of June coming up.
Oh, end
So
of June. Wow.
that, and then yep, end of June, and then the Mogollon Monster in September, and then I host a race through the Robin Ames Foundation.
Hmm.
It's the Raft Trail Series in West Virginia in October.
Oh,
So
wow. Wow.
that's cool. Yeah.
Is
I
that
like being the
is
race
that where
director on
you're
that side.
from, or no?
So
You're
I
from
went to school in
you're from Jersey, no?
I'm
Or
from New Jersey, and I
yeah.
went to school. I went to school in West Virginia. So we hold a 50K, 25K, 10K, 5K all trail races
Mm-hmm.
in honor of my buddy Robert Ames, who passed away. So that's I love going back there and be able to host an event for him like that.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. No,
Yeah.
that's commendable, and that's those races are awesome. But I just thought about it right now. You talking about heat? If you really want some heat, come to Texas. There's a couple of trail races here,
Oh
and
man.
it's got to be hotter than Arizona because Arizona is dry heat. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
that's why everybody says it's dry, but guess what? An oven's dry too, and it's pretty hot.
Yeah, but try humid and hot.
Yeah. That's what when I grew up on the East Coast, man. I know what you're talking about. It was like 110% humidity and 95 degrees. It's not fun.
Not fun at all, man. Especially when you're running
No.
Berlin and training in the summer. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's
Well,
it's
hey,
bad.
those fall races, if you pay off dues in the heat, man, they'll be golden.
Oh yeah, that's what I tell myself every day when I wake up and it's pitch
Yeah.
black. It's pitch black and it's no wind, and then it's 99% humidity and it's already 80 degrees. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I tell
Yeah.
myself. But I'm just like you, dude. I like to well not like you on the complaining part. I don't know if you complain, but I complain about the heat, but I find myself running in the heat all the time. So I guess I must love the
Yeah.
heat too. So it
You got to
happens,
do what you got to do. That's really what it is, man. That's what
yeah.
it is.
It is what it is, man. But Steve,
Yeah.
last thing, I promise you, last thing, go ahead and give us
Oh,
your social media handle where we can find you if anybody's interested in coaching or anything that you want to throw out there. This is your time.
yeah, sure. My Instagram is SoCal Runner. It's
Mm-hmm.
so_cal_runner.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can find all my links there to my website and everything like that. So, yeah, still have availability for clients for coaching. So hop on board. Love to have you.
Awesome, and I hope they do. That you're an awesome dude. You know, I've known you for quite a while, and I'm always following you. Whenever you become an ambassador, I surprisingly become an ambassador of the same thing. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm not stalking you. I promise you. But I appreciate your time, man. I thank you very much for everything, and good luck on your races, man, for sure.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, man. You have yourself a great day.
You too, Danny.
Take it easy, bud.